April 1912, the Titanic sets sail on its maiden voyage, but what if I told you that as the ship was sinking, help was just 30 minutes away? A nearby ship saw the distress signals but did nothing. Today we uncover the tragedy of the Titanic and the missed chance to save hundreds of lives. Welcome to Mystery Unveiled, where we dive deep into the mysteries of history. Today we are talking about one of the most tragic maritime disasters ever, the sinking of the RMS Titanic. A ship so massive, so luxurious that it was considered unsinkable. Yet, it met its tragic fate in the freezing Atlantic waters. But what if I told you there was another ship nearby that could have saved many lives in just 30 minutes? The RMS Titanic was a British passenger liner built for the White Star Line. Construction began in 1909 at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Ireland. The ship was designed by famous naval architect Thomas Andrews, and at the time of its completion, it was the largest ship afloat, measuring 882 feet long and weighing over 46,000 tons. Titanic was built to be the epitome of luxury. The first-class cabins rivaled the best hotels of the time, featuring grand dining rooms, a magnificent staircase, and even a swimming pool. It was designed to carry 2,435 passengers and 892 crew members. When the Titanic was finally completed, its launch on May 31, 1911, drew crowds of thousands. People were in awe of this massive vessel. Its maiden voyage was set for April 10, 1912, departing from Southampton, England, with stops in Cherbourg, France, and Queenstown, Ireland before heading to New York. The maiden voyage attracted some of the wealthiest people of the time, including John Jacob Astor IV, Isidor Straus, and Benjamin Guggenheim. But it wasn't just the rich on board. There were hundreds of third-class passengers, many of whom were immigrants hoping to start a new life in America. On April 10, 1912, the Titanic set sail with 2,224 people on board, including both passengers and crew. Captain Edward John Smith, a highly experienced captain, was at the helm. The journey was going smoothly, but everything changed on the night of April 14, 1912. At 11:40 p.m., the Titanic struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic Ocean, causing water to flood several compartments. Despite receiving ice warnings earlier that day, the ship was traveling at near full speed. But just 30 minutes away was another ship, the SS Californian, which failed to respond to Titanic's distress signals. The SS Californian was stopped in an ice field not far from the Titanic on the night of the disaster. Its wireless operator had turned off the radio for the night. Even when distress rockets were fired by the Titanic, the crew of the Californian saw them, but misinterpreted them as signaling or celebrations. Captain Stanley Lord of the Californian did not send help, believing the situation was not urgent. Had the Californian responded, it could have reached Titanic in just 30 minutes, potentially saving hundreds of lives. As the Titanic began sinking, chaos ensued. A major flaw in the ship's design was the shortage of lifeboats. There were only enough for about 1,178 people, far fewer than the number aboard. The evacuation was unorganized, and many lifeboats were launched only partially filled. The Titanic took about 2 hours and 40 minutes to fully sink. At 2:20 a.m. on April 15th, the ship broke in two and disappeared into the freezing Atlantic. Over 1,500 people lost their lives that night, while only 705 survivors were rescued by the RMS Carpathia, a ship that arrived several hours after the disaster. The sinking of the Titanic shocked the world and led to significant changes in maritime laws. New regulations required sufficient lifeboats for all passengers, improved radio communications, and better safety protocols. The story of the Titanic remains a poignant reminder of human ambition, hubris, and the vulnerability of life. So that was the tragic story of the Titanic, a ship that was thought to be unsinkable but met its fate on its very first voyage. And the ship that was just 30 minutes away? Its failure to respond remains one of the most haunting what-ifs in history. If you enjoyed this episode and want to dive deeper into history's greatest mysteries, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any updates. Until next time, stay curious and stay captivated.